block this, block a little bit of the light. Hey, well, it is what it is. I hope everybody's doing well today. I hope everybody's blessed. Everybody's moving forward with esteem, purpose, recognizing and praying for your purpose. If you haven't recognized it yet, if you haven't been brought into what this season of life is calling you to do. As always, we see what's going on in the world right now. We see that we've been inundated with all sorts of distractions and all sorts of variables that can make it difficult to navigate in today's landscape. And we see that. Um, we're going to continue this talk briefly about building up righteous men for marriage. We're going to talk about what it means to continue on that path, on that journey. We're going to talk about uh, the different mindsets that we see today that would keep us from building ourselves up uh, in a meaningful manner without having to worry about taking 2 steps forward and 4 steps back. Um, we want to be we want to have a sound foundation, okay? As men, we want to be able to, even if we knocked back, even if we in a fight, even if we in the throes of war, battle, we want to be able to have a sound foundation. And we want to be able to move in a way where even when we're attacked, we're not frazzled. Even when there's a sense of pressure around us that we are confronted with, we want to be able to have a certain mental aptitude that keeps us from folding, that keeps us from uh, busting, if I may. That pressure busts pipes or pressure makes diamonds. You want to be a diamond. You want to be able to utilize the pressure to your advantage. And so that's what we're going to briefly talk about right now, because when you decide to get married and you decide to take that woman as your wife, um, there's going to have to be a certain mindset that you have. There's going to have to be a certain attitude that you have. And I like to look at, the fruits of the spirit when we're talking about this mindset. Um, being men of Israel, particularly, and being um, these men of Israel, these children of the Most High, a lot of us still haven't realized that we are actually the image of the Most High here in this physical realm. And we have to remember that because of this, there is a hierarchy. Heavenly hierarchy, there's an earthly hierarchy. There's something that you need to recognize going on. And in that hierarchy, it's been very skewed today. Men have been subjugated to a certain stance in today's time, particularly because of the curses that have been exacted upon us. Okay, and excuse me as I get these scripts together, but we have been placed under a series of curses. Okay, under a series of curses that they would predispose us to certain mindsets that we would be born into, and it wouldn't necessarily feel good for us as men. Okay, let me before I go into the book of Corinthians, let's go into the book of Isaiah. Let's go into the book of Isaiah real quick, because these curses are very strong. And we're going to be as brief as possible. I know that I started a little bit later this evening, but that's okay. The book of Isaiah, chapter 3, tells us men that in verse chapter 12 of Isaiah 3, we read, "As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy path. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy path." We have to realize, as men of Israel, it's going to take a lot more than just words to get us to where we need to be. And it's going to take a full spectrum, as wide and as broad as we can create that spectrum and see that spectrum of what it is that we actually are up against, not just in society, but spiritually speaking. When the scriptures tell us that children are our oppressors and women rule over us, as the men of Israel, children are our oppressors because in today's modern age, the woman has been given a lot of power over the man when it comes to children. A woman in the court systems today can tie a man up for a large part of his life, sometimes 18 or more years, a minimum of 18 or more years. When a new child is born into this realm and the woman decides to go a different way from her man, from her husband. And normally the courts will give that child to the woman, will give guardianship of that child to the woman, forcing the man to no longer have a relationship with the child except for that of being a financial support. The women rule over us men. Now, not only in society do the women have a greater advantage in the corporate space, many women have a level of financial acumen that most Israelite men in this modern era do not necessarily have, different job opportunities. And many modern day thinking women will use that as a form of leverage to control the man that she's with. And so women rule over the men. And so, as a man who's seeking to be married, you have to realize that there's actual manhood, there's an actual manly energy that you must embody. And unfortunately, many of us are products of that woman rulership. And I say, unfortunately, Brother Tupac said it got your name and your game from a woman. Okay, but the point that I seek to establish real quick is that many of us young brothers was raised in single parent homes, and the parent that we were raised around was the woman who, for all intents and purposes, was utilizing your father as a financial support while not extending his guidance and leadership to you. More than likely, you were raised around a woman who didn't want you to have a relationship with your father, unfortunately. And so you were taught a form of subconscious scandalizing, if I may. I think that just came to me. It just came to me. Subconscious scandalizing, wherein you knew the importance as a child of having your father, but that father wasn't extended to you. And because he was blocked from your life in certain areas, the primary source of wisdom and knowledge was coming through your mother, and it was a more so biased set of wisdom, more so biased set of knowledge. You were inundated with the way a woman would think in a situation and not the way a man would necessarily think. Um, and so, because of that, that is also how the scripture came true. And as for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. That's Isaiah chapter 3, verse 12. Um, One of the things that I've realized in my walk to this point is the importance of balance. Okay? The importance of balance. And balance isn't easy to attain at times, especially when you have so much up against you. Okay? When there's so much that you have to deal with as a man or as a young man or as a boy growing into young manhood, into manhood, the your vision can be skewed at times. This is why it's very healthy to get into the word and to build up your knowledge of the word and to build up not just speaking the word and preaching the word, but living the word. Okay? It's very important that you live it because as you journey through living the word, you're getting an experience of life based off of the tenets that the word truth has provided to you. So we have to be able to deal with the deceit of this life from a spiritual perspective, realizing that we're in spiritual war. So as men and growing into manhood, you're going to have to, what we talked about yesterday, separate yourself for a while. You're going to have to learn how to stand on your own too. You're going to have to learn the value of balance. I know that when we first get into the word and we first realize who we are, that a lot of us will be identified as super Hebrews or super Brews. Those who want to put all the ways of the world aside in order to learn the truth and just preach the truth alone. And we negate the other aspects of our life, the importance of the other aspects of our life. And that's a mistake that many of us make originally, initially, as we get into the truth, because we have such a strong zeal for wanting to learn, and we are shown so many things about this system and society that we're living in. So we're like, oh, we got to do everything to get out of that. We got to do everything to get away from that. Oh no, I don't want to live this way. This and that isn't good anymore. And oh, I don't need to be working and I don't need to be doing this. All I need to do my work is dealing with the scriptures. My work is speaking to the children of the most high. My work is waiting for that window of opportunity, if I may, to speak and prophesy and to pray. You know, to the people of the Most High. And part of that is true. Part of that is true. But when we're talking about marriage and we're talking about being a husbandman, a lot that goes on today is having to deal with control. And as a man, if you don't have a form of power, societally speaking, it will make the woman who you choose to make your wife difficult to see you as her head. Hence the modern day woman's mentality that she is a independent woman and she doesn't need a man. But we know that that's not true. We know that a woman needs a man. We know this. But if you don't know your value as a man, you don't know how to identify yourself in the society, and you don't know how to place yourself in the society, it's easy to be trampled on emotionally. It's easy to be trampled on from those outside of your household or those inside of your household who are looking at the actions of those outside. Okay, so one of the things that I've identified within myself as being valuable in this day are the fruits of the spirit, that long suffering, that charity, that love of the Most High, being founded in the word of truth. point where you are not easily swayed by emotion, or easily swayed by founded opinion. And it's difficult at times, but what I've also realized is the power of having a sort of fortitude that would suggest that you can see outside of the lines. You can read in between the lines, but also think outside the box. Excuse me. Thinking outside the box will add that form of power and control that a man should have in his family at all times. One of the things that we're not taught as Israelite men is how to formulate business, entrepreneurship. That's not a major focus that we are taught. We're always taught to be under someone else that can sign our checks, that can do this or do that, as opposed to utilizing our gifts to not build the coffers up of someone else, but to build up our own coffers and to establish ourselves in society as entrepreneurially minded men. And when we can do that and do it from a successful standpoint and build business, actually take control of that element of our life, we have more power and control as men. That's something that our women look at and say, well, if you're not the boss, you're not the one signing the checks. Modern day minded woman will say, why should I respect you? She might not say that vocally or verbally, but her actions will be indicative of that. And if you don't understand why her actions are that way, and you will want that respect back, but you will not necessarily feel it. Okay. So, how do we do this? How do we get to place as a man where we see our value, build our value, not just in a spiritual sense, but also in a financial sense, a physical sense, being healthy physically, healthy mentally? How do we get to that point? And when is it okay for us to finally say, okay, I'm ready to take a wife? Me personally, and this is just me, if I meet a brother that's 35 plus, he's never been married, doesn't have any children, I kind of I kind of feel some kind of way about the brother. I'm kind of like, hey man, what's wrong with you? That's just me personally. And then I know in today you have many brothers who have been scared out of having wives and children because of how they were raised. In a single parent household, they saw the discord between their mother and father, and they're afraid to take that chance and that commitment. They've seen the power their mother was given, for instance, over their father. They've seen the different forms of child support, not getting access to their dad, or the dad not getting access to the child. So they're afraid of that. They're afraid that they might be victimized by that. And there's a certain sense and level where I could say, yeah, I definitely see that. But at the same time, if that is a fear of yours as a young man, you have to do what it takes to continue to build yourself up as balanced as possible so that you don't have to necessarily, so that the worry of a woman looking at you in a certain way, or you not being able to deal with the, and consequences are both good and bad. So the consequences of that decision, you can move knowing that at the end and the beginning and end of each day, you still have your foundation and you still have your ability to produce. Okay. So, this is something that I want us to think about as men moving forward. We still haven't talked on the different acceptable forms of marriage according to Torah and the Tanakh, according to the Holy Scriptures yet, but we're going to get there. Right now, we still need to identify manhood is a journey and not so much a destination. And that when we make mistakes or when we have victories in the decisions we make, we have to learn how to build off of those victories, and we have to learn how to learn from those mistakes. And in doing that, we build up our acumen, build up our value. It's one thing for someone to know through knowledge, and it's another thing for someone to know through experience. They're two different forms of know. And we have to be able to decipher between the two. But ultimately, we have to be as balanced as possible. Our women, you have to remember this as well. We're also born into this society. Our women also saw daddy not in the house. Our women also saw mama treating the children a certain way. Okay. And so our women were taught a certain mindset as well. And so we all have work that we have to do in order to break free from that particular mental bondage that we still have today in regards to one another. But I know that a man is always going to be a man. And a woman, I'm talking about biological real men, are always going to be biological real men. Real biological woman is always going to be a real woman. Today, of course, those lines are being skewed or attempting to be skewed more and more. So we have to stand firm. We have to stand even more firm on our square, who we are. And so the challenges have increased. All right. The challenges have definitely increased. None of these things that I mentioned today are guarantees that your marriage will work out. There are caveats to this. None of these are guarantees. You can have everything as a man, balanced spiritually, financially, physically, and the woman who you choose to marry can still go another way. Okay, this is the harsh reality, the harsh truth of this. The difference is, though, if that woman should decide to go another way and you have all of these tenets about you, you have these attributes that have been fulfilled, the difference is you live to see another day. You won't be as frazzled. Remember, we're talking about pressure busting pipes or pressure making diamonds. That divine refinement process, you as gold being tried in the furnace of affliction, it's not going to melt you. You're not going to be destroyed. You'll be able to take that lesson. You'll be able to move forward through your life with it. And it'll add who you are even greater. It'll add to your character. It'll show you what not to do next time. But if you don't have certain tenets before you get into marriage as a man, it can destroy you. It can push you to alcoholism, drug usage. We've seen many brothers over our life who wasn't built up properly, whose hearts were totally destroyed. They weren't the same guy no more. They lost themselves. And that's what we don't want. We don't want your value predicated upon what any woman can add to you is the point. And of course this is no knock to our sisters. But you want to have that value in your mind established before you even meet her. So as you continue to bond and grow, you can grow through life together, especially if she's the wife of your youth. You can grow together, but also in case things happen, humbugs, obstacles, blockages, things don't work out. You maintain that as a form of experience for you and you add it to yourself as that being an experience, and it doesn't destroy you mentally. It doesn't cause you to run to the psycho house and to the loony ward or nothing like that. You can continue to move forward. So I want to, like I said, make this discussion multifaceted, multi-part, because it's not a one-off discussion. And I want young brothers, especially who have never been married at all, to realize the seriousness of marriage and to not, especially if you Hebrew Israelite. I hope one of my hopes is that you can understand how to look at marriage from a Hebraic perspective, okay? From a culturally sound perspective, from a perspective that we haven't been taught in this society that we live in today. This society plays a major role in how we see ourselves. It plays a major role in how we see marriage. A lot of us still think about the Disney marriages, the fairy tale marriages, the Prince Charming and the princess and all this, and has to be this way, the romanticized marriages, the big party, the big humongous reception, and the after party and all that type of stuff. And if it doesn't work out, then immediately get the divorce and all of this type of thing, where marriage itself is a journey as well. And so, if we don't recognize a more Hebraic perspective on how to actually deal with ourselves within the throes of marriage, well, then we already losing. We already losing. That romanticized form of marriage isn't even natural to us as a people. So if we fall for that okey doke and we fall for that idea that's valid for another culture group, but not for us ourselves, not knowing who we are, not recognizing our own culture, not recognizing how to move forward and navigate through our culture, then we already pretty much lost. Now, some of us are able to navigate through a more romanticized version of marriage and then wake up to a form of the truth that would migrate them out of a romanticized marital union into a more Hebraic marital union. But that takes work, and that takes a sense of self awareness that is more difficult to attain in this day because of all the distractions, because of the lack of wanting to do the work that it takes behind the scenes in order to align ourselves with what the scriptures are teaching us and telling us. The game is thick, y'all. It's thick. It's complex. So complex. And I think that that's another reason why it's important for elder brothers to step up and to share different experiences and to help guide the younger brothers into a proper mindset. And when I say elder brothers, I'm talking about brothers who have the experience, regardless of age. Brothers who have the experience versus a brother who doesn't necessarily have the experience yet. Okay. And so it's pretty important to see the differences between the two and understand that certain communion, certain congregational conversations are needed today in order that we can build each other up and keep each other from committing certain mistakes that those of us who might not have had tutelage have made. And we can help another brother before he commits his life to marriage, to building up his family. Um, I mean, it's no different than buying a piece of land and not really knowing how to utilize the resources on that land. It's no different than buying a piece of land and not understanding soil culture, not understanding the nutrients that it's going to take to plant certain seeds and to cultivate those seeds into meaningful crops. Um, it's one thing to have the land, but it's another thing to understand how to use it successfully, how to leverage it successfully. And so that's what these next videos are going to be about. Just putting something on our hearts to marinate on and to contemplate on as we all continue to grow, as we all continue to navigate what it means to actually be men in this society as Hebrew Israelite people and what it means to be women in this society as Hebrew Israelite people and to destroy those those mentalities that would keep us from joining together and to build up and establish those mentalities that will help us move forward into the future soundly together. Everything ain't always going to be sweet. Everything ain't always going to be in alignment with what you thought it was supposed to be pertaining to this society. But as we dig deeper in the Torah, the Tanakh, into the Holy Scriptures, we can see how the Most High ordained our marriages to be. And we can begin to make the necessary choices and the changes that it takes to become the men of the Most High that we were called to be, as well as women of the Most High that you were called to be. If you are a daughter of Zion, if you are a woman of the Most High, child of Israel. So we're gonna stop this conversation, stop this particular video right now. The sun went over the horizon. I don't want it to get too dark right now, and outside, and I want to be able to read more of the scriptures to you in regards to the fruits of the Spirit and how to continue to build ourselves up in that regard. Um, So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining the live stream today. Thank you for all of the thumbs up, those of you who have participated today. We're going to get out here a little earlier, most high willing, tomorrow. And we're going to divulge deeply into the other tenets of building us up as men and what it actually takes in order to see the value of that. Okay? It's very important. I'm not just saying it's very important. I was a young man when I got married to my wife, um, and I was 22 years old. And, there was a lot of lessons that came with that, a lot of learning that came with that. Um, Now this year is we going on, um, it's our 15th year um, that we're looking at right now. So when you think about the different legs of the journey um, that I particularly went through, being a little hood baby, being straight off the block, um, seeing so much dysfunction, seeing so much opportunity to not be a certain way, not be a certain type of man. Of course, those opportunities were presented to me. I'm no different than most of our brothers in that regard. But the difference was being a child, one of 19. Um, I saw elements and certain characteristics of my dad that I appreciated, and I saw certain elements that I didn't necessarily appreciate. And instead of dealing with the complex of mind that dealt with the elements that I didn't appreciate and adopting those into my life, I identified them and I said, these are things that I don't want to deal with. So let me look and focus on the things that I do appreciate and then add on to those. Okay. So I didn't ever want to be one to provide excuses for the different decisions that I made. I just like to make sure that the decisions I make are founded in righteousness. Okay, founded in the word of the truth, in the word of the Tanakh, the Torah, the Holy Scriptures. And any mistakes that I make along the way, I know that I'm covered by the Most High, and they all work out to the divine will of the Most High. Okay, but I still must stay grounded in manhood. I have to stay grounded in what it means to actually be a man. Okay, and so due to the throes of society, it's easy for us to make a mistake as men and then get to folding, and getting to allow, like we read in Isaiah chapter 3, the women to rule over us and say, well, shoot, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And so I'm just going to lean on this woman. And the truth of the matter is, we should be leaning on the Most High. No matter how harsh it sounds, no matter how difficult our journey to this point has been, we need to continue to lean on the everlasting arm of the Most High. Not leaning on man, not leaning on our own proclivities, but allowing the Most High to guide us. And this is another tenet of manhood, because as you lean on the everlasting arm of the Most High, I'm out here looking at these deer, y'all. They they right in front of me, so excuse me as I don't look at the camera. But as you lean on the everlasting arm of the Most High, that guidance that you receive from on high as a man should be the guidance that you lead your family with. Okay? You lead your family with the guidance you receive from the Most High through Hamashiach, through Yeshua, through the Word. And so It's just, you know, it can be complex. It truly can. But we have to figure out a way to identify and see ourselves in the scriptures. I think that that's very important today more than ever. So many of us doubt the word of the scriptures because we don't see ourselves. Hey, brother D. Warner, you know this whole study, this whole lesson has been inspired by you, brother. I don't know if you're at the job right now, but blessings to you. You know, you can definitely watch this live stream later on. I don't know what context you were speaking as far as clock in, okay? But nonetheless, you know you're always welcome, brother. This whole live stream was actually inspired by your inquiry during the Feast of Tabernacles into marriage. And I know that you want to, oh, you here to listen. Okay. Well, blessings to you, bruh. I remember you had a concern or an inquiry, I should say, about marriage. And I know you were a younger brother. And so, obviously, that's a great question to have. Obviously, it's a great place to be in your mind, wanting to make the young lady who you are with your wife. Now, we haven't gotten to into marriage itself yet. What we've been talking about is how to build up our mentalities and our spiritual acumen to the place where we could be suitable husbands, as opposed to just hopping into this thing and using the title of being a husband. You know, side note, the divorce industry, I think American divorces in this country is somewhere at 54%. Last time I checked, over half of the marriages in this country end in divorce. And divorce itself is a huge, huge industry. The divorce lawyers, they having fun. They don't care about marriage sustaining itself because they get paid a lot of money. Um, and so I don't know when you tapped in for this particular lesson, but we discussed briefly Isaiah chapter 3 and Isaiah chapter 3 verse 16. And I'll read it again for you. One of the issues that we have as Israelite men today is that our children oppress us and our women rule over us. Sometimes literally, sometimes spiritually, dealing with different forms of doctrine, indoctrination, wanting to be with the woman so bad. Excuse me. We was out of 12, excuse me, Isaiah chapter 3, verse 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy path. So, like I was saying, it could be spiritually that they rule over us, you know, trying to stay with the woman in regards to what she believes at that time, instead of you recognizing who you are as a man of Israel and her staying with you because of where you are at the time of your particular awakening. Okay. And so a lot of brothers will put away the word in order to appease the woman, for instance. Um, oh, she's living this way, she's living that way, but she's so fine. I don't want to lose her. She thinks this way, or she wants to deal this way, so she doesn't believe this doctrine. She wasn't raised as a Hebrew Israelite minded woman. She's still thinking Baptist. She only wants to deal with the New Testament. She doesn't want to deal with the whole scripture, for instance. So I'm going to put away this aspect of the Torah. I'm going to put away this aspect of learning in order to appease the woman. And she's ruling over us. She's ruling over you in that way. So you have to really, really, really get a grasp on who you are and what you bring to the table. Um, and you have to really understand your value. You know, it's not just financial value, but spiritual and mental value, your leadership qualities, your vision, what you're willing to be flexible in and what you're not willing to bend or break for at all. You know, and so this is why it's important, brother, for us to really focus on as men, because the woman still, one thing she still wants to do, if she wants to be married, she's still waiting on that man to bend down on his knee and ask her hand in marriage. That's when she's still willing to do it. I mean, shoot, keep it real. I've seen videos on social media where the woman will bow down on her knee. agree with at all. But a woman will bow down on her knee and have the wedding ring in her hand and be wanting to, marry the brother that way and propose to him. So it's a lot going on in the land that's flipped and inverted in such a way where it could make it difficult for even younger brothers who are now journeying into young manhood, to see and navigate what's going on. And so it's important to build up men into a righteous mentality so that you can navigate yourself, navigate the world, and then deal with marriage properly. All right. So we're going to, yeah, the deer is all out here, y'all. What we're going to do is in this particular live stream, and we're going to tap in earlier tomorrow, most high willing. Okay, so that's the crux of that. But I appreciate you for tapping in. Feel free to catch up with yesterday's live stream. We went a lot longer because I started earlier and I had more light at that time. So we're going to continue this discussion until we get into marriage itself and the different laws, statutes, and commands pertaining to how to move forward in marriage today from a Hebraic standpoint. All right. So I thank y'all for tapping in. This your bruh True Jew, the new host of the Voice of Zion. If you've noticed, I changed the name of the channel. Um, if you didn't know, my great great grandfather began the Voice of Zion all those years ago, and so I wanna keep it going. I want to keep that going. I want to keep that move alive, that name alive. His name was Israel, and so I want to continue moving forward in that light, in that form, that format. So we changed the name from me, True Jew, to the Voice of Zion, but of course I'm still True Jew, and I'm hosting the Voice of Zion right now. Okay, so I thank y'all for tuning in, for tapping in with me. Blessings to you all. Please continue to read and dissect the Torah, the study of the Holy Scriptures, the Tanakh. Please continue. Thank you, brother. I like it too. I like it too, and we're gonna keep on moving forward in it. Thank you for your continued support, brother, and for your inquiry last week in regards to this subject. Um, I truly appreciate you. I hope all is going well with you. But we're going to pick this back up uh, tomorrow, most high willing. And I thank you all for your time. It's your brother, True Jew, tapping in with you the only way I know how, raw, real, and uncut. Tapping in with you on the Voice of Zion. And as always, I ask that you stay blessed, stay vigilant. Most high mama and papa willing, I'll be back with another one. But until then, gone.